Hello and welcome. My name is Marcy Newton, and this is the inaugural Faculty Spotlight Conversation Series. I am delighted to be here with Aiesha Turman, who joined the WCI faculty in fall 2024. We will talk about her path to teaching, ways in which she inspires her students' love for learning, and ways in which her students inspire her love for teaching, our tea preferences, and so much more. Please join me in welcoming Aiesha Turman. Aiesha, welcome. How would you describe your approach to teaching critical thinking?
My approach is really to quickly teach them the theory behind how things are, how folks try to persuade them, how people use language. So showing examples, having a discussion, but then I apply it. I immediately apply it. So, for example, last week they watched the documentary "The 13th" by Ava DuVernay, and I had them break into groups and really discuss the film, like 5 different aspects of the film between those groups. So my goal for students really within what WCI is responsible for, my goal is to really have them apply their critical thinking to the world. We're not just here for what you read in my class or what you might read in another class. It's really about how to navigate and how to understand that the world is a text and there's texts within texts within texts. So how do you do that? So for example, today my students, they analyzed the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl, 59 halftime show in class. And I gave them, we were also reading, they had finished an excerpt from Hurston's Dust Tracks on a Road. They had finished reading James Baldwin's The Letter to My Nephew. And they're also in the midst of reading a piece by Jessamine Ward about it's really deep and heartfelt piece. And they're also now watching I Am Not Your Negro by Raoul Peck. That's really about James Baldwin. And so I'm really having them analyze through, the rhetorical skills that they've learned, analyze this visual story, because everything is a story, whether it's a journalism, it's a commercial, it's a story, and someone's trying to get you to think, feel, or do something. So let's see what they're doing and how they're doing it.
What led you to WCI? How did you get here?
I was ready to leave New York City. That was part of it. So I had taught high school for several years, was chair of a high school English department. I taught private school, so I didn't have to have state certification. And if my high school, I say this, if St. Joseph's High School in downtown Brooklyn had not closed, I would probably still be a high school teacher, because it was an all-girls school. Absolutely loved it. Loved my students. Loved all the things about it. And so when the school closed, I said, what am I going to do? So I took the summer. I was still under contract, and took the summer and started teaching part-time in the CUNY system. I just got tired. And something had been calling me back to upstate New York. Now, I haven't lived here since as my daughter liked to say, the 1900s. So I haven't lived here since I was a child. Like I did kindergarten and first grade here. So I hadn't lived here, but my family's here. Almost everyone except for my mother, who's retired to the South and who loves to call me and let me know that it's 72 degrees. And so everyone is pretty much here. And my daughter's in school not too far from here. And my goal was to leave New York when she graduated from high school. Like we could make a nice exit together. And it did not happen that way. One more year. And I was like, okay, the Hudson Valley is calling me. That's what it was. Hudson Valley is calling me. And so I really had it in my mind that I was going to wind up in some small town in the Hudson Valley, much like my favorite shows on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, where there's like a woman solving crimes, running a bakery. I thought that was going to be my life. And there's this show called Mystery 101 about a professor in a small town who helps solve crimes, right? And I was looking in the Hudson Valley, couldn't find any positions. And I said, you know what, girl, look at you, Albany. And I looked and I clicked and literally within an hour of finding it, I had all of my materials up. And I think I got a call the next day. I got a call on like that Monday. I did it on Sunday, got a call on Monday. And that's how I got back.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what has been, the most rewarding aspect of your career so far?
Of my career? Oh my goodness. Just teaching. You know what? The rewarding aspect is when you start a new semester and you have students come up to you and they say, I took this class because a friend of mine took you at a last minute. And I've already had that happen here. So that feels good. Like I made sure I registered for your section because a friend of mine was in your section last semester. So that really, that's the most rewarding thing because it's the student relationship and it's the engagement beyond the classroom. And even students who like I've taught years, I was just recently in New York at an event that I helped put together and I was the MC for. It was a lot of work. And I had students who I taught in New York who came, who wanted to make sure that they got to see me while I was in New York for a little bit. And that's just, that's it for me.
So what is it that you're doing, that's getting this kind of response from students?
I think I'm being myself. I don't talk at students. I talk to students. I don't do what a lot of people have been taught to do, such as code switch. How I sound outside is how I sound in the classroom. I don't throw out $5 words at all. And I guess, and I use a lot. I use myself in my teaching a lot. So, for example, we were working on this this poem. It's I Am poem, and it's like Mad Libs, where you have to fill in parts about your life, and it seems weird because they're like, "What, a plant?" And I'm like, "Yes, just pay. Just it'll work out." And as they're doing it, I verbally do it. Like everything I ask them to do, I model for them. So I verbally was doing the same thing while they're writing, as an introduction to the assignment. So I'm bringing myself and my life. Like there's no wall. I think that's what it is. I'm approachable. They know I'm approachable. It's clear that I'm approachable. And again, I talk about myself, my family, my life, and I bring that into the work in the classroom. And so they see me as a real person.
It can never be understated, making that authentic connection with students. They can see, yes, I'm a real person and I care about you and I want you to succeed in the classroom. And
I'm nosy. So that works to my advantage. I am nosy. So I teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesday, how was your weekend? What did you do? Anything exciting happen? Things like that. Like a student who missed part of class last week because she had a job interview. She left early and she let me know via email because I said, things happen. You got to do what you got to do. And she said, I tried to get a different time. I said, don't worry about it. So today in class, how was your interview? It's simple things like that. Like, how did it go? Or just so they know that I'm listening and that I'm not just here, like, here's do some work. I'm going on about my business. And I think it's clear to them that I enjoy what I do.
Right.
I enjoy what I do, even at 9:00 a.m. in the morning, in that first class. I enjoy what I'm doing with you.
So it's evident that you're having, an incredible impact, on your students, and that, they might leave, the classroom seeing you as someone who has influenced them, in their lives, in their actions, in their behavior.
That would be lovely.
Is there, who are some of the most influential people in your life? Is there someone that stands out? Or?
My mother. My mother was my first teacher. My mother has a degree in education. My second grade book reports had red lines on them. But not in a terrible way. Just like, girl, mm-mm. My mother, because she listened to me. So, particularly, she taught me how to read very early. I read very, people didn't believe that I could read. And, back then, I don't know if it's the same now. You couldn't get a library card unless you could write your name on the library card. And I was 2 years old and I was like, ma'am, I can write my name. And my mom we would go to the library. She would put me in the red wagon and she would pull me in the wagon to the library, get all the books in the world. So much so, like her influence is so much so that when I had my daughter, I was so excited. I know this is going to sound really goofy, but my mother is a great like reader of stories or teller of stories. And when I had my daughter, I was so excited. The first book I bought, like I started buying books when I was pregnant with my daughter, but I bought Dr. Seuss, Mr. Brown Kid Moo, because I will never forget my mother saying, "How now, brown cow," and doing the cowboys. And I was so excited. I was like, "Look, mom, look, I know she's like 2 days old, right? But can you?" She's like, "Of course I can." And I was just like, "Oh, thank you so much." I mean, I read way above my grade level always, always because of my mom. And it was like, and I grew up in a house with books. So her books, I was reading, doing things like If Beale Street Could Talk when I was like 10 years old because they were on the bookshelf. And my mother said, if you can understand them, you can read them. And if you can't understand them, you can read them too because you'll learn some new words. Or she was a parent who would say, go look it up. Go look it up. I will never forget a time that she and I were having this intense discussion on what a dirigible is. And so I had to be like 14. So we called the library research helpline because this is before Google, way before Google. And I'm like, no, it's this. No, it's this. And she was right. So, like that kind of thing, So number one is my mom and her being a product of Albany schools, and even she attended here, but she thought it was too big. She thought Albany was too big, so she transferred out to another SUNY. So just having, her as my rock, my foundation, and we talk every single day. I know she gets tired of me, but we talk every day.
What advice would you give your former student self if you could go back in time?
If I could go back in time, I would talk to college prep Aiesha and tell and tell her I would tell her me that you can major in whatever you want to major in college and you can go wherever you want to go. Because it was at a time where before pre-STEM, even before it was called STEAM, it was, the era of Mae Jemison, this Black woman's going into space and we need to get Black and brown girls into science. And I loved science in high school. I did AP Bio, AP Chem, and AP Physics. Okay, I enjoyed myself. Also did Calc, did all of that stuff. But I also did AP Lit and all of that stuff too. And I loved books, loved to read. I would say I'm going where I want to go, and I'm going to probably major either in English or history. Like that would have been what I would have done. And I tell my students now, again, so many of my students or our students rather, they don't know what they're just here, or unless they're in like bio, human biology as it is now. They're on that pre-med or pre-dental or computer science track, they are just like, yeah, I'm going to major in this. I'm like, are you sure? Is that what you want to do? Or is this what someone's telling you? So I would be that, I would literally go back and tell myself, girl, you could do whatever you want to do. Don't listen to these people. Don't worry about it.
That's, I don't know how many, students would have heard, that statement when you find out, what major they're taking or if they're on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it really means something to them when you can, say, hey, it's okay if you're undecided, right? Because, there might be, if you don't know what you want to do and you feel pressurized into taking a particular subject, then you might find that you're switching majors 2 or 3 times in the semester. So it's okay not to know what you want to do yet. You are still young.
You are still young, yes.
So we have a lot of first gen students here. Do you feel that, their struggles are different in some way? And do you see that, in the classroom?
I see it, young people's struggles are young people's struggles. They're all a hot mess. And I mean that with love. They're all a hot mess. Yes, there's an added pressure of success and what that looks like. Because again, a lot of times when students are first generation, they are you need to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, and this is what you need to do. You're not going to go and be a sociology major. What is sociology? What is that going to do for you? That kind of thing. So I see that, and it comes out in the writing, which is also lovely for that first, our personal inquiry analysis, that first assignment. It came out last semester. And, I focused my class looking at things through the lens and framework of love using Bell Hooks' All About Love, New Visions. And so all of their first pieces were exploring relationships. Like the first gen students all experience relationships with their parents. Every single one of them. Now, some students did relationships with like my siblings, and they were not first gen students who did that. All first gen. And I had students who are first gen last semester from West Africa, from the Caribbean, from Latin America. I had throughout my 3 courses. So, and every single one of them dealt with their parental or their grandparental relationships for their personal inquiry.
And what came out of those stories? Like, what did they learn about themselves? What did you learn from reading their
first of all,
their work?
What I learned is, oh my goodness. What I learned, what I think they learned really is that their family members only know what to do and how to do because of where they come from. So with them being raised in America and being raised with, they were all of them were public school students, so being raised, it's like all of them talked about like walking that fine line between culture at home and culture in the world. But then that idea of just because my parents don't hug me or say I love you doesn't mean that they don't love me. They got into it deeper when they started looking at research later on for their longer assignments. But that personal, like these are the questions. Why, right? Like this is this experience I want to write about me and my mother and father or whomever. And then I just kept saying, as you're working on this, remember what it's like to be around a 2-year-old. Every other word is why. So I will keep digging and asking yourself why. And so a lot of that is it's cultural norms, like this idea that their parents expected them to assimilate and stay within their culture at the same time. And they're like, we can't, that's impossible. That's impossible. So.
And in what ways do you feel that, the WCI course that you're teaching empowers, students, in self-advocacy?
Because they get to talk about it. Like, that's the thing. They get to have conversations. And then when they're in their groups and they're working, then they're having conversations with their classmates about the same thing. So this idea that, unless you speak a thing, it doesn't exist. You have to give a thing a name, you have to talk about it, right? So in being able to explore this and, me standing up in front of class, day one, everything is academic. Everything is academic. So if you want to write about your relationship with your grandparents, that's academic. If you want to write about why you love Air Jordans, that's academic. We can do a whole thing. I don't care, as long as we are looking at it through this lens of love, and each class came up with their own definitions. Like we worked, like, what is our framework? And the classes came up with their frameworks, right? And so this idea of being able to have a safe space and telling them, I said, look, I'm not going to tell anybody your business, right? But it's a safe space. That's why our first assignments are these discussion board posts where they are telling like their business on the end. You have to respond to two classmates, and I model how to respond. It's not this, oh, that was nice. They're like, oh, I had an experience like that. Right? Because a lot of times young people think they're in silos because no one talks about anything. So because no one talks about anything, they don't think that anyone else is feeling or going through anything that they're going through. And I remember having that experience myself as a young person. So to be able to be in a classroom on a college campus, and to start thinking about who you are and how you be in the world, and to have support to do that, not just from your professor, but from your peers, I think that makes a world of difference.
I mean, the theme of love is just absolutely fascinating. And I remember when you first, said, this is what my, class revolves around, this theme. Aiesha, where did that come from? When did you decide this is what I need to bring into the classroom for, students to really sort of develop their critical thinking through the lens of love? Where did that come from?
I don't know. I thought about it.
And how is it working out?
It worked out really well. So first of all, to have all these students like, oh, I really love this Bell Hooks book, I'm going to go read more of her. I have succeeded, because they were really into it. And I specifically chose her because she does not speak at people. She is very easy to read her. Her language is very conversational, and the chapters are short and they're quick. So each week was a theme. Her chapters on grace. We're going to talk about grace this week. Chapters on, family. We're going to talk about family. It's on spirituality. We're going to talk about spirituality this week. So she, in her book, created the units for me. I just had to create the questions and lead the dialogue and, with students. So I thought about it, once okay, I am going to Albany. I thought about it and I said, this is what I'm going to do after I talked more and figured out okay, thinking about what the semester could look like. And also because of the absence of love, we're in a time, and even before the time, we were in a time of, just the rampant violence, the lack of empathy in the world. So it's like, how can I get a bunch of young people to start talking about love? This is what I'm going to do. Bam. And how am I going to help them explore themselves? Because, when do you get time as a young person to have a deep exploration of yourself? And then you get to go look up, peer-reviewed journal articles later on about what you're going through. So that's how and I slanted it a little bit differently this semester. It's still love, but it's storytelling about love. And so my first question is, they're watching the 13th last week, and, it's all about the 13th Amendment. And how is this about love? And, just to get them thinking about it. And, the things that they say, just amazing. I applaud students every day because they are trying to think and do and again be in a world that does not care about young people. Just, they may be in institutions, they may be in institutions of higher learning, but the world does not treat young people well at all. So for them to even be thinking about these things and showing up to class ready to talk about them, that's something that I really admire in them.
What do you like doing outside of work? Any hobbies,
Napping.
interests?
I am still a big reader. I'm still a big reader. So I try to read well, I read fiction and nonfiction. So I'm a big reader. I'm a big
And what sort of fiction or nonfiction are you
Oh,
into?
so I'm reading like nonfiction on disability right now. I just read this book. I cannot remember the author because it's not, but the book is about fairy tales and disability. Oh, it was so good. I make tea. So if you were to come visit me in my office, I have 9 teas that I have made, and I have labeled them and I give them goofy names, for how I'm feeling. So that kind of thing.
Oh, you're talking t-shirts?
No, tea.
Tea. You're talking like
tea.
English, like British
tea. Like
tea,
herbs.
like
Yes. Teas. Yes.
For a second, I thought
You're like,
when
are you making hoodies? What's going on?
when you first said that, making teas, I was thinking, is she saying the same
Tea.
tea? Mean the same tea that I'm thinking? Tea, or she
I love
referring
tea.
to t-shirts?
I'm a big lover of teas.
Iced tea or hot tea?
Hot tea.
Hot tea with milk and sugar?
No.
No?
No, I don't put milk. Okay. It depends. I have this really great tea from this place called Brooklyn Tea in New York, and it's a coconut oolong tea. I put coconut cream in the tea and a little bit of honey.
Wow.
Yes. But the tea I make in the office, I just do a little honey. That's it. I make a gigantic mug of tea. I have 2 back to back in the morning classes. And that tea gets me through those 2 classes. Yeah. I mean iced tea in the summer. And I make windowsill tea too when it's in the summer. I don't like, I sun tea in the summer. Mm-hmm.
Now, Aiesha, what is there besides tea? What is one thing you can't live without?
A pen or a pencil. Because I think of, we have all of this technology, but what happens when the technology disappears? Or how people were going crazy on, was it Sunday? Because like PlayStation's servers were down and they couldn't game, right? And thinking about the pencil being an early form of technology and how you can still use that pencil or pen. Like you can make paper. You can figure out, but if I have a pencil or pen, I can't live out. I'm always writing too. That's it. I'm always writing something. So that's part of it too.
And to conclude, one more question.
Okay.
Purple or gold?
Gold. Mm-hmm. All the way. I'm a Leo. Gold is golden.
Aiesha, thank you ever so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me to do this. I appreciate it.